Good afternoon and welcome to the marketplace. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, we'll explore Citi's good run against the dollar and how it can be sustained. We'll also speak to an analyst on the back of how the Citi is performing against major global currencies. Also, interest rates continue to surge on Treasury market as government misses T-bills target by 16%. Also, Joy Prime's annual Made in Ghana fair climax with patrons expressing excitement about the initiative after they were treated with huge discounts by exhibitors. My name is Winston Take, and now let's bring you updates on the currency market. Now, before we bring you updates on the performance of the Citi, now let's bring you government missed out on its Treasury bills target by some 16%. It is not clear for now how the current legal issues might have contributed to the development. The interest that government will pay on these papers are also going up. This is a report that has more details on this insight.
According to the results, the government missed a target by 1.047 billion cedis. It, however, got 5.180 billion cedis. All the bids were accepted. The majority of the bids came from the 91-day bill, worth 3.942 billion cedis, representing 76.1% of the total bids. About 653.43 million cedis were, however, tendered for the 182-day bill. Similarly, the 364-day bill saw an offer of a little over 584 billion cedis. Meanwhile, interest rate went up for the fourth consecutive week. The yield on the 91-day bill was up by 14 basis points to 26.96%. Equally, the interest rate on the 182-day bill increased to 27.78% from 27.67% the previous week. That of the 364-day bill was also up by 3 basis points to 29.21%.
Now, moving on, the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana has appealed to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to increase the number of extension officers required to register farmers affected by this year's dry spell to benefit from the special intervention announced by government. Speaking to Joy Business, the executive director of the association, Bismarck Note, disclosed that the limited number of extension officers is affecting farmers from benefiting from the relief program. Let's go on phone and engage the Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Bismarck Note, for more insight on this. Bismarck is joining us on Zoom. Hello, Bismarck. What is the assessment so far with the initiative by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to support farmers affected by the dry spell? Bismarck, can you please unmute?
Yeah, so thank you very much for having me. And I think it's a bit of a sad news or a bit of uncertainty with regards to the relief items that farmers are supposed to benefit from. the information we had, and as I earlier said, was that from October 10th, we were promised that the distribution of the items were going to begin. Now, based on that, a lot of farmers were encouraged to go and register, even though the registration did create some problems. We had a lot of information from the agri directors that told us that they had discussion with the ministry in Accra and they were awaiting the inputs. But as I'm speaking to you now, there is no information as to when these inputs are coming to the farmers.
Okay,
the agri directors are lost because they seem not to know what is going on. They've had several discussions with the minister, who keeps promising them that the input will be coming, and that they are even expected to go and find warehouse facilities to store the input when they arrive. But as we speak now, there is no input coming. Farmers do not even know what is going on. And that is for the input, the fertilizer and the seed. We also told that they were going to give cash transfer to some affected farmers. Now, what we are hearing is that these monies are now being paid through or given to the LEAP beneficiaries. Now, our confusion is that we were told that the monies were going to farmers who suffered as a result of the dry spell. And not all these farmers are necessarily members or captured under the LEAP framework. So if there is such an intervention, how do they distill between farmers who were affected by the dry spell and the LEAP beneficiaries who are not even farmers? That information has not been made known to us. On top of that, our information is that the lists for beneficiaries who are even getting the cash transfer are coming from political people. Our information is that the regional ministers have been given the chance to get the list of people who are supposed to benefit from the cash transfers and then forward the list to the gender directorate or gender district at the respective district. And then they identify some few people and then send the money to them. So there's even no clarity as to who is even benefiting, because we are told that they are supposed to be farmers, but the information is that some of them, you don't even know whether they are farmers or not, and they are supposed to be part of the LEAP beneficiaries.
So let us understand something.
The itself has been shredded.
Mr. Let us understand something. Apart from the ministry's suggestion of bringing or intervening for the farmers, what is the current state of accessing fertilizer and seeds, just not from the ministry, but even from the market? What are some of your members saying?
No, normally, if you look at the planting season, this is normally not the time for farming to go on. Most of the areas, they actually engage in harvesting now. So if you engage most of the farmers, their primary focus now is about how to harvest their products, how to bag them, and how to sell them. So the focus now currently is not really on inputs like seed and fertilizer. That normally starts when the plant season is about to commence.
All right, what would this position basically food production in the north going into next year?
My interaction with our members shows that we'll be heading for some serious challenges as a country when it comes to the supply of food. To be very honest with you, the areas that were affected by the dry spell, farmers were quite hit. And this has taken a toll on the farmers. My engagement with some farmers didn't reveal that averagely, a farmer is supposed to get at least 8 to 10 bags for 1 acre of maize. But some of them are now doing just about 2 or 3 bags, even for more than 2 acres of maize. And that's a disaster. Because if that happens, that means that there's going to be shortage on the supply of this particular product. And that means that in the near future, we'll have to pay more because there will be few of this particular product on the market. So that's the kind of situation that farmers find ourselves in.
What immediate intervention is your members asking for, basically?
Now, you see, the issue for this year that farmers had to battle with was the issue of the dry spell. the long periods of no rainfall. That's the major problem farmers in the north were facing. So if there is an intervention, there should be an intervention how to ensure that farmers have access to facilities or avenues where they can be able to harvest water and use the water on their produce or on their farms. If that is not done now, then I'm sorry. You can provide all the inputs, you can provide all the seed, all the fertilizer, you can provide the chemicals, but once there's no water, farmers will not be able to produce as much as you want. So the current challenge now is about water, and we have to find a solution to it. So that's why we feel that interventions for these farmers now should be how to ensure that we're able to give them water for all year-round farming, so that we don't go into this particular situation again. If not, we can provide all the input you want to provide to them, but we will still have an issue with producing because we are still relying on the rainfall, which is not forthcoming for the past few seasons.
Great. Ms. McNulty, we appreciate your time here on the marketplace. Ms. McNulty is the Executive Director for the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Now, moving on, the cedi has posted one of its longest good runs in recent times. More than a week now, it has stabilized firmly against the dollar. The move has been linked to improved dollar supply from the Bank of Ghana, while demand from the businesses has slowed. But the biggest question here is that can we sustain the good run, especially going into January next year? Let's get on to Zoom and speak to Khalid Boti, a currency analyst and manager of macroeconomic research at GCB Bank PLC. Good afternoon, Khalid.
Good afternoon. What's thing? It's been a while.
Yes, we'll catch up later on. From your end, what has contributed to the cedi's sustained recovery?
My pleasure. Good afternoon to your listeners. So you talked about stability. I don't think the period we are in is stability. It's actually still volatility, but it's a positive one. I might say, given the direction. It could go worse, but this is a positive one. So a bit of correction happening in the market. And I think the main trigger has been improvement in liquidity. Improvement in liquidity, not from market sources necessarily, but from the regulator releasing a bit more than they have usually done. So they have a bi-weekly auction calendar. The target per month is about 40 million. They do 20 million every other week. We've seen in the last, I think, 2 weeks or so that there has been significant injections on the market on a weekly basis. So over 200 million in each of those two auctions. And we've seen that the scope is a bit expanded now. So previously, they won't fund certain things that fall outside their purview, things like rice, oil, and a few others. Now they are open to accept demands for all of those things on the market. And they are encouraging banks to come in with those demands so long as there is documentation to back it. So it looks like they are a bit broad in their approach now as to what they want to support. I guess that is an intervention ahead of the Yuletide season. I also think that, yes, where the cedi has fallen to, at some point, 17 cedi to $1, I am of the firm view that it's grossly undervalued. And then it was really a matter of time. A reserve supports that we should be able to get some correction in place. And of course, if sentiment support. Currently, I see what the Bank of Ghana is doing as a liquidity intervention. Your question, which you ask in your prelude, is how long will this run? And that is a multi-million question, because we are able to do so because we built reserve in excess of 3 months of import cover, which is what the government and the Bank of Ghana's target for the year is, and that program is to do about 3 months of import cover this year. Now, the question becomes, if we are doing 200 plus million, and I don't know how long that will run, but assume it runs through the remainder of this quarter, if we are doing $200 million each week, how long will it take for us to deplete the reserve to levels that we may deem unsustainable or that may introduce a new level of vulnerability? And what is the plan to replenish it? I think those are the things we must get clear. If there's clarity on that and we understand the game plan, then we can talk about sustainability of the gains we are seeing.
Talking about clarity, the central bank governor, Alex Addison, expressed confidence that this could be done, and he's shown working. We've seen in just 2 weeks the speed at which the recovery has happened. But we've seen, if you look at the trends consistently, it's as if we've seen similar situations in the same period like this before. Going into next year, what are the risks associated with such immediate recovery, and what should we serve as a buffer against shocks, not just for the financial sector, but for businesses?
Well, you see, so the thing is about this financial market and volatility is that once it hits a setting or it touches a certain level, it becomes, if you like, the ceiling going forward, and it can always get there if sentiments go the other way, right? And so that with rate 17 and tops of that means that whenever investors are uncomfortable, that becomes a notional level they might quickly run to before things begin to even go beyond those levels, right? So that is one thing we must be watchful for. I tried to touch on the fact that we are able to intervene at the levels we are doing probably because there is enough reserve built up. What is the plan to keep building that reserve? Currently, the main strategy is through govt reserve, and that has been going quite well. We've seen the build up. We've gone past the 7 billion mark. I think later this month, we'll see what the new levels are. The question becomes, how do we sustain it beyond that? It means that the rate of reserve accumulation through the govt reserve, if that is the main strategy, must be faster than the amount we are auctioning to the market. And you are doing so ultimately to win market confidence so that supply can start coming from the market sources. Because it's also not efficient, it's not optimal for the BOG to be the main supplier of FX on the market. Currently, confidence doesn't support that. So if the data, the fiscal performance supports it, the macro recovery story sounds good to investors, and they begin to regain confidence in the market, then you can see liquidity flow in from market sources, and it will limit the amount of intervention the BOG would have to do.
Courage, briefly before I let go, if you help me understand, we are going into 2025, and many skeptics are saying that we'll certainly have some interest or repayment of our debt coming up. How does it position our city? Just a brief one.
Well, I believe all of that is factored in and will be factored into the 2025 budgeting year. And the fact that is that we've had some debt service relief in the period. I'm not talking about forgiveness, but you are not paying the full component of your interest for some of the external debt relief. So I think all of those will be factored into the debt management strategy, and that should inform how we proceed going forward.
Great. Thank you, Karit Buti. Karit Buti is a manager with GCB Bank, giving us insights on the performance of the Ghana city. Now, moving on, the head of commercial banking at Bank, Daniel Appiah, has urged small and medium enterprises to make the conscious effort of preparing their businesses for the bank financing. Speaking to Joy Business at the Bank Trade Summit in Istanbul, Turkey, he rejected the notion that banks are unwilling to advance loans to small businesses and called for more diligence in bookkeeping. Mr. Appiah also introduced businesses to Bank's SME Academy, which is aimed at assisting small businesses grow.
In Ghana, everybody keeps on saying that SMEs are the engine of growth. And the basic problem of SMEs in Ghana is access to finance. Personally, I like to differ. The basic problem of SMEs in Ghana is access to education and information. It's not finance. A lot of SMEs will come to you, they want to loan. You look at their books, they are not prepared. Because, for instance, if somebody is trading, and every day he's doing sales of, let's say, 200,000, but the sales of 200,000 comes, there's no record, he has to purchase raw materials, and he takes cash out of that 200,000 and purchases raw material. His kid comes to him, he needs to pay school fees. He takes it out of that 200,000 and pays their school fees. His in-law comes, there's a funeral we need to go to, I need 5,000. He takes out of that 200,000 and gives to his in-law. Now he comes to you for a loan and says that, oh, every day I do sales of 200,000. Where's the evidence? But to let the person know that, okay, separate your personal finances from that of the business. if it's 200,000 you made today, let it go into an account. Do every expenditure out of that account. There's a record to show the turnover of the business. But these are very, very simple things that somebody needs to sit down and teach businesses. I always say Ghanaian businesses know how to do business. But the financial bit at the back of the business, a lot of SMEs don't know how to handle it. So that is what they need, to be able to offer that kind of knowledge, to teach them that. There's a class I did for, so Carbank, we have what we call the Carbank SME Academy. We ran the first cohort and the second cohort last year. Where this year we ran part of it early part of the year. We are looking at running it again next year, where SMEs are put. It's virtual. So they get to be schooled over a 3-month period on basic financial matrices.
Now, the patrons of the annual Joy Prime Made in Ghana Fair have expressed some excitement about the initiative as it offered them an opportunity to get access to heavily discounted items. I was there, but here's more on this story.
Here at the Good Park, Accra Mall, we have over 90 exhibitors, and we've got hundreds of people who have already trooped in, shopping from clothes to food to electric cars, all made in Ghana.
Syntex is a group of companies into water storage tanks, packaging, pet-free forms, pet bottles, lamination. But most often than not, a lot of people know us for our tanks. But we want to tell our patrons that Syntex, we are not limited into just tanks. We have other products like the packing bags.
A one, a two, a one, 2, 3, let's go.
So far since you came for this fair?
I think I'm impressed because looking at our social media, engagement and traffic we are getting there, I think that will be successful.
We still have some time to go. We have the competition going on right now.
As you can see, it was an amazing moment at the Joy Prime Made in Ghana Fair where discounted product went, and it was amazing as well. I was there. I bought some stuff for myself, and hopefully next year is going to be awesome. My name is Winston Taki. Thanks for joining us here on the Marketplace. Enjoy the rest of our programs here. Have a good business day. Bye-bye.